Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Gids. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. So today's video is an interesting one. I've titled this video Confessions of a Small Fragrance Content Creator. Bit of a long title, but I thought I would talk about some of my confessions and my thoughts around making YouTube content, and also just share some advice to anyone who might be thinking about starting a YouTube channel. So also, let me just mention my scent of the day. My scent of the day is Chanel La Pausa. Love this fragrance. I've been really enjoying it since I got it as well. So let's get into the first confession. YouTube is hard work, okay? YouTube is hard work. Anyone who makes YouTube content, I'm sure, can appreciate this. The amount of time, dedication, and commitment that it takes to do YouTube is quite something. And unless you make content for YouTube, I don't think you can truly appreciate this. It's different to, say, Instagram, TikTok, and even doing YouTube shorts. If you are putting out long form content on YouTube, it does require a lot of time and dedication. And I'm not complaining by any means, because I genuinely do love making content for YouTube, but it is a lot of work, particularly the filming, the editing, even coming up with a concept, and then also responding to people's comments, engaging with people. As I said, I love that part. I really, really do enjoy it, but it does take a lot of time and commitment. The other thing about doing YouTube is you do all that, and sometimes you don't necessarily get the results perhaps that you would like. And that is in terms of maybe views, subscribers going up. And I think we all have to be realistic when it comes to doing YouTube. I think that for me, because I'm someone who does it as a hobby and for escapism, I'm very realistic. I don't have these overinflated goals of trying to grow my channel to 50,000 subscribers by next year or anything like that. I think anything is possible. I genuinely do. I'm a very optimistic person, but I think what's more special is making content that you genuinely enjoy and resonates with your audience. And I think the lovely thing is everyone can grow an audience on this platform, and I see it a lot of times when I go on different people's channels. I see, loyal people, commenting, subscribers, etc. And it's nice to see. And I think we can all be on this platform because we all have something very different to offer. I just enjoy making content which speaks to me, and trying to balance that with what I think my audience would enjoy as well. So that's my first confession. But my advice for anyone who wants to do YouTube is definitely go for it. I think there is enough space for all of us. And like I said, we all bring something very different, very unique, which is our own personal view and experience and our own thoughts to the way that we make content. So definitely go for it if it's something that you would like to do. The next confession is, for me personally, that I don't think it's necessary to purchase every new launch that I want to talk about on my channel, okay? I don't think it's personally necessary or wise to purchase every launch that I want to review on my channel. I think it's expensive. I think it's quite wasteful as well, and for me personally, and I think it's unnecessary. There are other ways as a creator on this platform that you can review fragrances without having to necessarily purchase them. So you can go in store, you can sample them, you can give your honest first impressions, you can spray things on tester strips on your skin, you can revisit them, and you can sort of share your general sense and idea about the fragrance. I think that is just as valid. Now, I understand that there are some people that want to watch a YouTube channel and a reviewer where they actually have the physical fragrance, they're holding it up, they're showing how it sprays, they're kind of giving you the full experience and impression of the fragrance. But I do also think it's still valid to share your initial impressions of the fragrance without having owned it or having purchased it. I think, to me personally, I think that's also quite valid, and I respect that as well. So I just want to share that because I've heard a few people say, oh, it's really expensive doing YouTube. You've got to constantly buy these fragrances to review. And I just want to say, actually, you don't. You can find other ways. Now, yes, some people like to purchase lots and lots of samples, but that can also get quite expensive as well. And not everyone has the financial means to do that. So I just wanted to put that out there that I don't think you need to necessarily buy a fragrance in order to review it. The next confession is I am such a nerd. I love all things perfumery. And it's like when I find a new brand that excites me or I think is really interesting, the first thing I will do is look up the brand, look up the history. When did they start? Who are the founders? What are their values, their ethos? You know, how many fragrances do they have in their collection? What is their style of perfumery? Who are the perfumers? Like, I like to know as much as possible, and I'm sure not everyone really cares about those things, but for me, I find all of that really interesting. I also really enjoy listening to podcasts about fragrances. I was gifted a book about fragrance as well, which I find really fascinating. The other thing is I really do enjoy learning about brands with a lot of heritage and history behind them, you know, brands like Guerlain and Aqua de Parma and Chanel and even Dior. You know, I was listening to a podcast about Dior, and when he launched his fragrance Miss Dior as a tribute to his sister, I find that so interesting. I love learning about all that kind of stuff and even learning about like notes and accords and how different flowers are harvested and how much, you know, rose you need to make a particular fragrance. I just find it so beautiful and interesting, and it just adds to the enjoyment around this hobby. Leading on from that, if there are brands whom I don't feel their values align with mine, i.e., I find them to be problematic, maybe their founder is problematic and has said some offensive things, I'm not buying from that brand. I know there are some people that don't care. They will buy from any brand and they'll say, I don't get into the politics, I just buy what I like. But I think life is political, whether you choose to accept that or not. That's up to each individual. But there is one brand, for example, which is very, very popular, but I just cannot bring myself to purchase any of their fragrances because I saw some of the things that the founder said on social media and I found them quite abhorrent and unacceptable. And I also don't feel like it's necessary to go back and forth with people on social media, especially when you are a founder. I think there's a certain level of decency and integrity that one should have. But sadly, not everyone has decency and integrity. Um, but yeah, if a brand doesn't align with my values, then I'm not purchasing from that brand. I'm not going to say which brand this is because I don't want to get into all of that. I know they're quite popular and a lot of people have fragrances from this house, but for me personally, I'm just not interested in owning anything from that brand as a result of the things that the founder has said. And that's just my personal conviction. Everyone has different convictions, and that's fine. But yeah, if a brand does not align with my values, I'm not interested in purchasing their products. And I don't care how nice your fragrances are. I think if you say things that are quite cruel and mean spirited and very vicious, I'm not interested in anything that your brand has to offer. And that's just me. The final confession is about PR. And it's just about my thoughts about receiving PR. Um, and I don't know how to necessarily navigate the idea of potentially receiving PR just because I don't ever want anyone to think if I share an opinion of something, it's because I've received it as PR. Um, so I don't really know how I would navigate that, but I'm obviously not at a point where I receive any PR. There was an indie brand that I purchased from, and she saw the review, and the owner of the brand said, "Oh, thank you so much for your review. Can I send you something?" And I said, no, it's okay. I can buy it myself because it wasn't that expensive. And I don't know, I feel very awkward with receiving gifts and being gifted stuff. I find it, I don't know what it is. I have this weird thing about being gifted things or receiving things, but obviously, if Diptyque ever wanted to reach out and send me something, I wouldn't say no to Diptyque. I wouldn't say no to Chanel. I wouldn't say no to Guerlain. Yeah, I wouldn't say no. I love those brands, but I think I struggle a bit with the idea of receiving anything that I haven't paid for, just because I don't want my integrity to ever be questioned. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Those were some of my confessions. Share with me your thoughts down below on this video, what you thought of it, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will be back very soon to make more content. Take care.